Well, here we go. Part 4 of 4 parts, drugs and triathlon. It's been an exhausting few days just even thinking about all of the ramifications of Colin Chartier's positive EPO test, how it happened, why it happened, who did the testing. I want to start to bring it around a little bit to maybe something a little more positive. But before I go to the positive, I do need to say a few more negative things. You know, there is a hero in this, and I'll get there in a moment. But some of the people that are not heroes in my mind at this point, one of them that should be a hero is the PTO, Professional Triathlete Organization. Colin's test was announced on Monday. They came out right away and said, we don't condone taking drugs, performance-enhancing drugs, but we need to talk to our lawyers before we make any further comment. You're an organization that's supposed to be leading the way for professional triathletes, and you don't know how to comment on something like this? That's pretty lame, in my opinion. On top of that, it wasn't until today, 5 days later, that you actually came out with something that said that you're going to conduct your own investigation into this. Basically, that means that you're going to go back and look at his samples for your races, that you have samples of Colin, just to make sure that, you know, he wasn't taking anything, the tests were done right, all that kind of stuff. But you're not being very proactive. You say, we're going to be doing testing at the PTO race in Ibiza. Anybody who finishes in the top whatever is going to be tested. Well, great. We all know that. And anybody who gets caught at a race with something in their system shouldn't be thrown in jail. They should be thrown in the dunce category, right? So anyway, who's the hero here? In my opinion, it's Ironman. It was Ironman having the International Testing Agency on their behalf manage their out-of-competition testing for the athletes who are on their registered athlete testing list. It does not include every athlete in the world. It includes most of the top Ironman athletes. But Ironman is very proactive about this. They've been testing for decades now. They are funding and being in charge of doing out-of-competition testing. The PTO, Professional Triathlete Organization, does not do any out-of-competition testing. It's not a black and white situation here. I mean, there's other organizations doing testing of athletes. National governing bodies do testing. You know, nobody wants the athletes to have to do double tests for the same thing, right? So it's tricky because Ironman is trying to make sure that people get tested, that they're not over-testing, but at the same time, it's the proactive drug testing in and out of competition that Ironman has been doing for years that, in my opinion, makes them the hero in this. Had they not been involved with this, Colin Chartier would still be racing. He'd be racing in Ibiza. He would have EPO in his system. Maybe he would have won, maybe he wouldn't, but still it would have been cheating. Right on, Ironman. Thank you for doing what you do. Colin could be a hero in this. How could he be a hero? First and foremost, in any kind of like 12-step program, step number 9 is you make amends with the people that you screwed. He needs to make amends with every single top athlete and sponsor that is disheartened by what he has done. It's not an easy task. It doesn't happen overnight, and some people may never forgive him. Who cares? He needs to do that. He did it in a public announcement on a podcast. First, I want to apologize to everybody and to the sport for what I've done. That doesn't cover it. Second thing, maybe there's something that he can tell us that he hasn't so far. That would go a long way to making him a hero. If there's something that he could tell us that would make it easier for other athletes to be caught, make it easier for testing agencies to find those who are taking drugs at this point in time. Tell us something that we don't know. Make yourself a hero there. And for sure, speak out about this. Keep speaking. Don't let it go under the table. Work with organizations to help them craft rules and ways of testing so that it gets harder and harder for athletes to cheat. Be a hero. Don't hide. Enough of this for now. This is not the last we're going to hear of drug testing. This is not the last positive drug test that we will hear about in the sport of triathlon. let's bring it back to the very beginning of why any of us got into the sport. You know, there was something that you as a triathlete saw that inspired you, that said, wow, I want to try that. I want to see if I can finish a sprint race, finish an Olympic distance race, do an Ironman, qualify for the Ironman World Championship. Whatever it is, there was something that inspired you, and you started on that journey. You started at the very beginning, not knowing how to put swimming, cycling, and running together. You learned. You got a little better, and a little bit better, and a little bit better. And each one of those milestones where you got better, that was exciting. That was something that said, yeah, the hard work that I put in is paying off. The experience that I'm gaining is helping me to be faster and have a greater experience in this sport. And at some point you may have had that dream like, wow, maybe I can win my age group. Maybe I can win a pro race. Maybe I can be a world champion. Those dreams are great. But every single one of us who got into the sport to do something personal will reach a point where we won't get any faster. Whether you're an age grouper, a top pro, your progression will continue, and at some point that will be as fast as you can get. And at that point, the focus might need to shift from trying to be faster yourself to just being the best that you can be at this point in your life. Winning is not everything. It's the journey and all of the personal benchmarks that you made that got you a little bit better, that said, yes, I am more proficient, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm more efficient, I'm more experienced, this is cool. Those are what make the journey worthwhile. It's not that win at the end, or that time, or that place. It's all of these small successes along the way that make this journey so worth it. Prior to 1989, where I won my first Ironman, I had been to Kona 6 times. Many of those years, I was trying to win. Many of those years, I was in the lead, and I would fall apart, and I would get passed, and I would go home completely disappointed because I felt like I had failed. And I had to pick up the pieces and go back again and try and improve. And I would fall apart again and be in the lead, and I couldn't hold it. 6 years I had that devastation. Finally, in 1989, I thought, you know what? I may never win this. So what's my purpose? Why should I go back? Because the only reason I was going many of those years was to try and win. And I realized, you know what? One person's going to win. That means that if I don't get that top spot, there's several thousand other places that I might finish, and none of them are going to sound quite as good as winning if that's my only goal. So in 1989, I said, go back to the basics. Go back to why you got into sport in the very beginning as a swimmer at 10 years old. You wanted to just see how good you could become. It had nothing to do with being a world champion, a gold medalist. And so in 1989, when I went to Hawaii, my 7th Ironman, I said, I am here to use the inspiration of everybody else to have the best race that I can have. Somebody else might win it. I don't know where I'm going to finish. But when I cross that finish line, I want to know that that was the best race that I could have on this day. The whole world opened up. Suddenly I was in Hawaii for a very different reason. On the start line, I was aware of the sun coming over the volcanoes to the east. I was aware of the color of the ocean for the first time on race day. I wasn't obsessed with winning. I was there committed to give the best that I could. And as it turned out, that was one of the best days I've ever had in Kona. Let's all race for the right reasons. Mark Allen, Shed Talks. I'm sure there's going to be more on this topic, but for now, I hope that's given you a lot to think about. And let's truly enjoy sport for what it's meant to be, a personal journey of excellence.